And this is the last problem on the class notes for section 22.3, and we're going to look at the difference between maybe where I put my origin, so where the x and y axis intersect. Okay, and we're going to do this problem. I'm going to find A using point P as my origin. I'm going to find this distance B using the center of the circle as my origin. Okay, so first we're going to write the equation of the circle using the point P as the origin. Okay, so all I'm going to do first is I'm just going to draw in my origin and make sure I know, like, or my axes, and make sure I know where. Oops, I didn't do a very good job. Hold on a second. Let me try that again. Actually, if I lose, do it this way. All right. Okay, so now if I draw a line, here's my x and my y axis at point P. So we're measuring everything from point P. There's your origin. Okay. Here's the center of my circle. So remember to write the equation of a circle. I need to know the coordinates of its center, and I need to know the radius. Okay. So another thing to look at before you really even start the problem is possibly make sure you understand what all the numbers are measuring. So this 3.148 is measuring from point P up to this point right here. Okay. And the 4.155 measures from here to here. Those are both actually y distances, right? Okay. In the x dimension, I have this 4.146, which measures, in my case right now, from the origin all the way over to the edge of the box here. And then 3.715 measures from the origin, okay, over to the center of the circle. Okay. So that means that there would be your x coordinate of your vertex, right? So for this point, its x coordinate is 3.715, and the y coordinate of the vertex, I'm going to get all the way up to here, is going to be this 4.155. The other two numbers we're going to use later for when I'm trying to find A and B, so 4.155. The next thing is, what's the radius of the circle? Okay, so if I look at my picture, it actually tells me right here my radius is 1.5. Okay. Now you notice I actually have 4 significant digits on this whole problem, but I'll worry about that at the very end. Okay, so the equation of the circle is x minus the x coordinate of the vertex, so 3.715 squared, plus y minus the y coordinate of the vertex squared, and that's equal to your radius squared. So there's the equation of my circle, and now we want to find this distance A. Okay, so here's the distance I'm trying to find, and notice that's a horizontal distance, which means I'm trying to find an x. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say we're going to try to find, and you can do this on almost every one of these problems that you have. You're going to find something, and in this case that's going to be an x, when the other variable is equal to, and then we got to figure out what that number would be. Okay, so in this case we figured out we're trying to find an x, right? Because we want to find this distance A, which is a horizontal distance, which would be a x value. Okay, so that means this would be when a y, so now I got to figure out the y coordinate of that point. Okay, so this is the distance, so this is the point on the circle that I'm actually talking about right there. So what I want to know is what's the y coordinate of that point. Okay, remember we're measuring from here as my origin, so I need to know the distance up from there to get over to here. And notice that's that 3.148 number. Okay, so I'm going to put that right there, 3.148. Okay, now at this point I can just use the solver in my calculator to do this. So I'm going to go over here to my solver, okay, which is in the math menu. Okay, and I just hit the up arrow button to get to solver. Okay, if you already have something in there, you're going to have to clear it. Okay, and then I'm just going to type in my equation. So x minus 3.715. Don't forget your beginning parentheses. I didn't say it, but you should have beginning parentheses there. And then squared plus parentheses. Y is on the 1, so alpha 1 for the y, minus 4.155 into parentheses squared, and I'm just on a regular TI-84 plus silver edition, so I'm going to have to do minus 1.5 squared. if you're on an 84 color, you actually have the two boxes. Your screen will look a little bit different than mine. Okay, and my decimal point didn't come out, so let me scoot over and fix that. Okay, you have the two boxes. You put the left side of the equation in the top box, the right side of the equation in the bottom box, and then I think your next screen will look like mine. Okay. So we're trying to find x when y is 3.14, so I'm going to sit on the y equals and take 3.148 here. Okay, go up to the x. Remember, you have to be sitting on the variable you're trying to solve for, so your cursor should be flashing on the x, and I'm just going to press the alpha solve. Okay, and I got a syntax error. So normally when you get a syntax error, the best thing to do is go to, because it'll actually sit on where the syntax error is. Okay, oops, 2, and it doesn't like my end parentheses. That's because I forgot my beginning parentheses. Okay, so now we're there. Let's try this again. Again, my y is 3.148, and I'm trying to find x. Okay, you can make a guess for x. Okay, right now my guess is 5, but I'm going to show you what happens when I guess 5. Okay, so I put my guess in at 5. I get 4.826. So if you look, this distance to the center is only 4.146. So is there any way this could be my answer? Now what you actually found was, oops, come back over here, was this dot at that same level that's actually over here on your circle. Okay, which is not what I want. Okay, so which means I need to make a different guess. So instead, we know that the answer is going to be less than this 4.146, and it might even be closer, like down to 3 or 2.5 or so. So I'm just going to guess maybe 3 for my x, and then it should give me the correct answer. Okay. Okay. The other one is like a correct answer, it's just not the point that I'm interested in. So that gives me 2.603. Okay, but we only want this distance a right here. Okay, so what it's telling me is to get over to here. So if I make a mark right here, that is, I forget the number, 2.603. Okay, but what distance do I want? I want this distance across to there. Okay, so what do I need to do to find that? I'm going to have to take the through my x coordinate and my center, right, because that's the part I want. So it's the 3.715 minus the 2.603. So the distance A is equal to 3.715 minus the 2.603. Okay. And I can just come out of here, and that would be 3.715 minus 2.603 gives me 0.547. Okay, so 0.547. Okay, now remember I said I had 4 significant digits, so I was using 4 significant digits in these numbers, but remember the rule for subtracting has to do with decimal places, not significant digits, so this is actually a correct answer, 0.547. You can't really add any more digits onto that because all of a sudden now we're subtracting. Okay, so now I'm going to redo the problem, except this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the center of the circle as the origin. I'm actually going to find B instead of A. Okay, so this through here, I'm going to say here is my axis that I'm going to use. Okay, here is my origin, and it's also the center of the circle. So in this case, when I say, well, you need the center of the circle and the radius, I can say, well, my center of my circle is just 0, 0. Okay, oops, I don't need the equal sign. 0, 0. And my radius is 1.5. Okay, so now when I write the equation of the circle, it's actually fairly easy, right? So x minus 0 squared, which would be just x squared, plus y minus 0 squared is equal to your radius squared. Okay, and now we want to find the distance b. Okay, so that's this distance here that I'm trying to find. Okay, you notice I'm tracing a vertical line this time, which means when I write my sentence on over here, right, it's a y that I'm trying to find. So find something That's either going to be an x or a y when the other variable equals some number. So in this case here, right, remember it's a vertical distance, so that would be a y distance. So that means this is going to be x, and now I got to figure out what my x coordinate is. Okay, so if I look, this here is the point I'm interested that's on the curve, right? Because that's my distance b from here up to my crooked x-axis. Okay, so that's the point I'm trying to find. Okay, we need to know the x coordinate of that point based on this being my origin now. Okay, so the x coordinate that I need actually is going to go from here over to about there. Okay, remember the numbers we have. We actually have this 4.146 value, right? But I only want the short distance, so I'm actually going to have to do a subtraction here first. So this is all the way over to where the little purple line ends, but I need to subtract off this piece here that I don't want for it, because remember my origin is now here and I have to measure everything from that point. So this is going to be 4.146 minus the 3.715. Okay, and I actually don't even have to figure that out because when I use my calculator it'll do it for me. Okay, so we're going to come back over to the calculator, back to the solver. Okay, just remember back to the math menu. Right, the last thing in the list is the solver. Okay, I need to retype my equation in because now I need to use this equation over here. Okay, so clear out the equation you have, and now it's just x squared plus y squared minus 1.5 squared. Again, the 84 colors, we'll just put 1.5 squared in the second box. Okay, now that I have this sentence, I have find y when x is that. So I'm going to type the value in for x, so 4.146 minus 3.715. Okay, again, I can just have it do the math right within there. Okay, so when I press enter, at this point, it actually gives me that 0.431, which is what your x value is. We're trying to find y, so make sure you're sitting on the y. Okay, press alpha and solve. Okay, and I get 1.436. Hang on, let me scoot this over so we can see my picture. Okay, I actually move it all the way out of the way. Okay, so what I found this time was if x was 0.431, I have this point up here actually is the point that I found because my y came out to be positive. Okay, I really want this point, which is actually, hopefully you realize this is symmetric, so it's going to be negative. If you don't want to, you could just guess -1 and it'll actually give me the negative back as the answer. Okay, so over here, the value I'm really looking for is y equal to -1.437. Okay, but b is a distance, so what we really actually want is the positive answer anyway, right, since b is a distance. So b will be positive 1.437. Okay, so in this problem, I actually had to do a little arithmetic here when I had to find my x. On the previous one, when I did it, when I found a, I had to do some subtraction to actually find the distance I want. So there really wasn't that big of a difference in which way I did it. Here's your equation for your circle was a little more complicated because your center was not at the origin, whereas this one I had a nice simple equation. And for the most part, I don't think it really matters which way you do it. So part of this is just to show you that it doesn't matter where you put the center of your circle or where you put it does matter where you put the center of your circle, sorry. The center of the circle is at the center of the circle. It doesn't matter where you put the origin. Okay, so I did the same problem both ways. Both of them had this extra piece of subtraction on it. One here, the other one you had to do it at the end. Okay, so hopefully this helps.